Hey guys, how is it going out there? It's a rainy day here, man. It's beautiful though. I love the rainy day. Now, let's get into business here. We are going to do the second installment of World War One, 1915, coming up in Tig. You understand what I mean? Somebody said, I hope you want to do the rest of them. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. I like find out about World War Two because I'm learning about countries that was involved that I didn't know was involved. Because when we get a history on this side of the globe, all we hear of is Germany, England, and America, pretty much. We don't hear about Serbian contribution, the Romanian contribution, or any of those small countries that were in the thick of things, their contribution. So let's go ahead and YouTube and simmer and see what's going on with this here.
January 1915. World War I is just 5 months old, and already around 1 million soldiers have fallen. A war that began in the Balkans has engulfed much of the world. The Central Powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire, fight the Allies, Britain, France, Russia, Serbia and Montenegro, Belgium, and Japan. In Poland and the Baltic, the Russian army has suffered a string of massive defeats, but continues to battle German and Austro-Hungarian forces. Austro-Hungarian troops have also suffered huge losses and are humiliated by their failure to defeat Serbia. In the Caucasus Mountains, Russian and Ottoman forces fight each other in freezing winter conditions. While on the Western Front, French, British and Belgian troops are dug in facing the Germans, in trenches.
Serbia is just, compared to the other countries there in Europe, it's a little country, but they're always in the thick of things, it seems, you know what I mean? Somebody's either trying to invade them, or they someone trying to defend themselves, or some kind of offensive going on they're participating in. You don't hear much about them in history at all. It's like they just gloss over history, like those countries there, those little countries over there just don't exist, you know what I mean? Kind of like some parts of Africa. A lot of people think they're all one and the same there, kind of like how they think of people from the Caribbean. When you're telling me from Grenada and not Jamaica, because it's the same thing, and then you go, not really, it's a slightly different culture. We may have similar stuff, but it's a slightly different culture. Let's get back in here.
Stretching from the English Channel to Switzerland. As part of the world's first strategic bombing campaign, Germany sends 2 giant airships known as Zeppelins to bomb Britain. They hit the ports of King's Lynn and Great Yarmouth, damaging houses and killing 4 civilians.
Wow.
At sea, at the Battle of Dogger Bank, the British Navy sinks 1 German cruiser, but the rest of the German squadron escapes. Command of the seas has allowed Britain to impose a naval blockade of Germany, preventing vital supplies, including food, from reaching the country by sea. Germany now retaliates with its own blockade. It declares the waters around the British Isles to be a war zone, where its U-boats will attack Allied merchant ships without warning. Britain relies on imported food to feed its population. Germany plans to starve her into surrender. On the Eastern Front, German Field Marshal von Hindenburg launches a winter offensive and inflicts another massive defeat on the Russian army at the Second Battle of Masurian Lakes. The Russians lose up to 200,000 men, half of them surrendering amid freezing winter conditions. The Russians have more success against Austria-Hungary. The city of Przemysl falls after a 4-month siege, netting the Russians 100,000 prisoners. Austria-Hungary's total losses now reach 2 million. Meanwhile,
That is so crazy. And that battle, they roughly four months of seizure. All those people, man. Father's gone, mother's gone, brother's gone, sister's gone. Probably wipe out whole generations of people. We are some brutal beings, aren't we? And I know, I think some of it is necessary. Don't get me wrong. I mean, some wars are necessary. And I'm not a warlike person, but you get to the point where you go, hey, I'm oppressed and I want to do something about it. That's crazy, all those people died, man.
the British and French send warships to the Dardanelles to threaten Constantinople, capital of the Turkish Ottoman Empire. They believe a show of force will quickly cause Turkey to surrender. They bombard Turkish shore forts in the narrow straits, but 3 battleships are sunk by mines and 3 more damaged. The attack is called off. On the Western Front, the British attack at Neuve-Chapelle, but the advance is soon halted by German barbed wire and machine guns. British and Indian units suffer 11,000 casualties, about a quarter of the attacking force.
As I'm watching this, I'm thinking, I wonder what people were thinking on this side of the world when this is going on. Because when there is a war going on in another part of the world, you don't hear ordinary people talk about it much here. However, you do hear the Third World War is going to happen. The Third World War is going to happen. And I think people say that because the Third World War is still, even though it's generations away, even though it's generations since it's happened, it's still kind of fresh in our minds because, there's still a little bit of people left, that talk about that war, and the history of it is more prevalent than history previous to that is being taught and stuff, especially in this region here, because it was a triumph for them. But I wonder if anybody fathomed the idea of a world war when the First and the Second World War was happening. Because, even before, to the people that are living in Europe or Africa and they're isolated from the rest of the world, not knowing, did they consider it a world war? Or maybe did they consider the earth flat? So there's no, but then they've been traveling all through Europe and Africa all this time. So I wonder if they considered it a world war when they had big battles going on. But and even if there's going to be a third world war, when it starts happening, how many people are going to believe it? Because they keep saying third world war is coming, third world war is coming. This is going to cause the third world war. This is going to, and it's just over and over. And we live in constant fear. And in some ways, I think it's a fear that's been passed on from generation to generation since the Second World War. I think that's what's happening here. It's just kind of fresh in our minds still. So let's get back to this.
6 weeks later, at the Second Battle of Ypres, the Germans attack with poison gas for the first time on the Western Front. A cloud of lethal chlorine forces Allied troops to abandon their trenches. But the Germans don't have enough reserves ready to exploit the advantage. Soldiers on both sides are quickly supplied with crude gas masks, as a chemical weapons arms race begins.
So the question I have there is, when they unleashed this gas, where were their people? Because this stuff is in the air. So in essence, they kind of use their own people as guinea pigs also. Let's throw this gas out there. The wind is going to take it. It's going to go everywhere. we weren't even thinking of gas masks then, because from the pictures we see here, they were just wearing like what looked like surgical masks. It's crazy. I wonder when is the next thing that's going to come and silently kill us all.
The Allies land ground troops at Gallipoli, including men of the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, the Anzacs. Their goal is to take out the shore forts that are preventing Allied warships reaching Constantinople. But they immediately meet fierce Turkish resistance and are pinned down close to the shore. The day before the landings, the Ottoman Empire begins the systematic deportation and murder of ethnic Armenians living within its borders. The Armenians are a long-persecuted ethnic and religious minority, suspected of supporting Turkey's enemies. Tens of thousands of men, women and children are transported to the Syrian desert and left to die.
Wow.
In all, more than 1 million Armenians perish. The Allies condemn the events as a crime against humanity and civilization, and promise to hold the perpetrators criminally responsible. To this day, the Turkish government disputes the death toll, and that these events constituted a genocide. On the Eastern Front, a joint German-Austro-Hungarian offensive in Galicia breaks through Russian defences, recapturing Przemysl and taking 100,000 prisoners. It is the beginning of a steady advance against Russian forces. At sea, the British passenger liner Lusitania, sailing from New York to Liverpool, is torpedoed by a German U-boat off the coast of Ireland without warning. 1,198 passengers and crew perish,
Wow.
including 128 Americans. US President Woodrow Wilson and the American public are outraged. But Germany insists the liner was a fair target, as the British used her to carry military supplies. In May, the Allies launched the Second Battle of Artois, in another effort to break through the German lines. The French make the main attack at Vimy Ridge, while the British launch supporting attacks at Aubert Ridge and Festubert. The Allies sustain 130,000 casualties and advance just a few thousand yards. That summer, above the Western Front, the Fokker Eindecker helps Germany win control of the air. It's one of the first aircraft with a machine gun able to fire forward through its propeller, thanks to a new invention known as interrupter gear.
I ain't lying, boy. Germany seems to have invented a lot of war machinery. I mean, the Zeppelin was, at best, inadequate. With planes and all kinds of stuff, man. It's just, wow, crazy.
Allied aircraft losses mount rapidly in what becomes known as the Fokker Scourge. Italy, swayed by British and French promises of territorial gains at Austria-Hungary's expense, joins the Allies, declaring war on Austria-Hungary and later the Ottoman Empire and Germany. The Italian army makes its first assault against Austro-Hungarian positions along the Isonzo River, but is repulsed with heavy losses. Meanwhile, the Allies face a crisis on the Eastern Front. The Russians have begun a general retreat, abandoning Poland. German troops enter Warsaw on the 5th of August. Tsar Nicholas II dismisses the Russian army's commander-in-chief, Grand Duke Nicholas, and takes personal command. It will prove disastrous for the Tsar, as he becomes more and more closely tied to Russian military defeat. At Gallipoli, the Allies land reinforcements at Suvla Bay, But neither they nor a series of fresh attacks by the Anzacs can break the deadlock. Conditions for both sides are terrible. Troops are tormented not only by the enemy, but by heat, flies, and sickness. In the Atlantic, a German U-boat sinks the liner SS Arabic. 44 are lost, including 3 Americans. In response to further US warnings, Germany ends all attacks on passenger ships.
They didn't want America coming in, that's for sure.
On the Western Front, the Allies mount their biggest offensive of the war so far, designed to smash through the front and take pressure off their beleaguered Russian ally. The French attack in the Third Battle of Artois and Second Battle of Champagne. The British, with the help of poison gas, attack at Loos. Despite initial gains, the attacks soon get bogged down, with enormous losses on all sides. Allied troops land at Salonika in Greece to open a new front against the Central Powers and bring aid to Serbia. But the Allies are too late. Bulgaria joins the Central Powers, and their joint offensive overruns Serbia in 2 months. That winter, the remnants of the Serbian army escape through the Albanian mountains. Their losses are horrific. By the end of the war, a third of Serbia's army has been killed, the highest proportion of any nation. Fierce fighting continues on the Italian front, as Italian troops launch the third and fourth battles of the Isonzo. Austro-Hungarian forces, though outnumbered, are dug in on the high ground and impossible to dislodge. In the Middle East, a British advance on Baghdad is blocked by Turkish forces at the Battle of Ctesiphon, 25 miles south of the city. The British withdraw to Kut, where they are besieged. The Allies abandon the Gallipoli campaign. 83,000 troops are secretly evacuated without alerting Turkish forces. Not a man is lost. It's one of the best executed plans of the war. The campaign has cost both sides 250,000 casualties. 1915 is a bad year for the Allies. Enormous losses for no tangible gains. But there is no talk of peace. Instead, all sides prepare for even bigger offensives in 1916, with new tactics developed from earlier failures. All sides still believe a decisive battlefield victory is within grasp. Epic History TV.
Do they have any choice to believe that, though? It's either they fight and believe that they're going to win, or just surrender. Now, I've been privy to bombs dropping. Scary thing. Not to the same magnitude, but scary nonetheless. I hope you guys are having a good day, man. I'll leave a link up here to World War One, 1914, so you guys could go check out my reaction to that one there. You understand what I'm saying? Drop some vibes in the comments for me. Let me know what you have heard from your side of the world, because I'm going by what I've heard on this side of the world. Because, like I said, they selectively teach history for various reasons. But hope you guys are having a good day, man, and go out there and love a stranger, all right? Y'all take care. Cool runnings.